everybody. We are glad that you've joined us. We see y'all coming in quick, fast, in a hurry. So listen, won't you share this with somebody? Let somebody else know that we are on. It seems like we've been waiting forever to do this, but really, it's only been about 2 weeks that we've been talking about this. But you are live with us preaching through a pandemic. That's what we're doing on this evening. That's what we're talking to. And really, we're just having candid conversations kind of around some of the things that we're going through as a church, some things we're going through as families, and so we hope and pray that you'll be blessed by the conversation we have. We're also going to have a time at the towards the end of tonight for you to share questions with us, and so by all means, be thinking about that, and definitely. If you need to hear it one more time, say it. Hey, say it again for the people in the back, or whatever you want to interact with us. We would love that, and so we're grateful. I'm grateful to be here with my friend and brother Anthony Walker. He means a great deal to me and our family. We have a great relationship and friendship. For those who may not know us, we're going to take a little bit of time just to introduce who we are. Again, I'm Demetrius Nelson, the minister of the Carmack Boulevard Church of Christ in Columbia, and grateful for the place that God has us right now as a family, as a church. God is amazing, done some amazing things in and through us, and so we're grateful for that. I'm grateful for my wife, Shanika Nelson. She is part of our tech team on tonight, behind the scenes. We may pull her over here in a few minutes, but my kids are the other part of my tech team, but they're not here with us tonight. Alexis and Aiden, and so we're grateful for them. And I've been at Carmack now. This is my 5th year, and so God has just been so good and favored us in so many areas. And I'm grateful again. It's kind of interesting, y'all. And Anthony's going to introduce himself for those who may not know him well in just a few minutes. But it's crazy. I think about this, that the church where Anthony preaches is my home church. That's where I grew up, and many of my family still are members there. And it's crazy because Carmack is actually home to Anthony. That's where he grew up. His grandmother still lives there. Her church home is just right down the street from ours, and so it's pretty amazing how our friendships have grown. But then we actually have our roots in the places where each of us preach, and so it's been pretty amazing. So I'm gonna turn it over to Anthony. Let him introduce himself.
Oh me, it's hard for me to introduce myself, but I'm Anthony Walker. You all know me, minister of Highway 231 South. Again, my brother Demetrius Nelson, again, he means so much to me. We have done so much ministry together, so much work together in the Lord. We've traveled together, our families have traveled together. He and I had an opportunity to go to Israel together, so it has been amazing. Again, as he mentioned, our roots overlap and even our ministry overlaps, but we're excited about this opportunity to talk about and just have a very candid conversation. You know, one of the things between he and I that we share is that we're always very candid with one another. We always talk through things, and it always gets deep. His wife, Shanika, she mentioned the other day that it seems like whenever we get together, we're together for hours. We intend, oh, I'm just going to stop by, but we just do that. And so we thought it would be beneficial even to have some of that candid conversation during this time together with you. So I will say again, if you are with us on tonight, be sure to tag somebody, share this, invite somebody to be a part of this. You all know what you do, start your watch parties and things like that, because we just want to talk this through with each other, but even with you as well.
Yeah, so listen, what we've done, and we've kind of laid out our night as far as what we're going to walk through on this evening. We're going to hit some topics, and hopefully they're beneficial to you, and kind of walk through those on this evening. And then at the end, again, we're going to open for questions, and then we're going to share a word. Each of us are going to share a word with you that we feel like that can bless you tonight. So that's our plan. We don't know how long it's going to take, but we're excited about it. So listen, one of the things that I really want to talk about here for a moment, Anthony, is that first off, what have you learned and I want to answer that as well. But what have you learned during this season of COVID-19? What is it that you would say that you've learned?
Man, what have I? I've learned the value in time. I've learned the value in, family, how important we are, how important what we do is. And really, when you pull things away, one of the things I shared in my Devo, when you pull away the distraction, you pull away all the things that tug at us and pull at us, you really find what's really valuable. So not being able to go out as frequently, not being able to distract yourself with things, but basically spending time. So I've really learned and gained a significant value in time and in family right now.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think I echo those same sentiments. My daughter was actually away at college, and of course we went through this timeline of her coming back for a couple of weeks, and then found out that her school, of course, was canceled for the remainder of the semester. So it's been interesting for all of us to be together again. Because I have a 16 and 18-year-old, so I got one in college and one who thinks he grown, so it's been interesting because Shanika and I were kind of in the place where we were almost empty nesters, and so now we spend a lot of time together. My son said the other day, he said, "Hey, Daddy, on the 30th we get let free, right?" I said, "Listen, son, we look at the science and not what the governor says." And so, but he's ready to go. He's ready to take off. And so I think that the same thing for me as well is that the family and the importance of family and that dynamic has been really seared into our everyday routine. And sometimes I think in the busyness of life, we kind of miss that. But it's been good to enjoy our family. And so there's a lot of stuff I've learned through this, but family, that's a good one. That's a good one. So one of the things that we want to talk about here for a moment is that obviously all of us, our normals have been changed. So
Yes. Yes.
we've developed kind of new habits. So some good habits and some not so good habits. And so we want to talk about that for a moment. Is that what habits have we kind of adopted in our lives and found ourselves entrenched in, but also some of our members, how the habits that they formed as well. I know for us, one of the things a good habit that I have adopted is that checking on the folks, specifically my members, checking on them as soon as they come to my mind. I'll be riding down the street and somebody comes to my mind, immediately I pick up the phone and call them.
Yeah.
That's something that I didn't always do because I said, well, I'll do it later. I'll rearrange. But because we hadn't been able to see each other, I actually stopped right then and called them, and that's been a blessing. I think that top of mind, because for some reason I think all of us have felt like that we had time.
Yeah.
I'll see them later. I'll see them Sunday. I'll see them Wednesday. But now we don't see them.
We'll
Exactly.
get to it next time.
Yeah. But now everything has changed, and so that's a good habit. One of the things I think a lot of people have a better habit of it is devotions. Obviously, you have a daily devotion, and so I told him, I said, I just watch your devotion. I'm not doing devotion every day, at least not on camera. Because that's a huge commitment. I commend you for doing that. But obviously, people have spent times of devotion, times of prayer on purpose because we have more time together, more time at home. People are off work. People are working from home, and so that's another good habit I think we've had. What about you?
Now, I'm glad you started out with good habits.
Yeah.
We probably should have done the bad ones and ended on a good note. But when you talk about that with devotion, for me, obviously as ministers, we always are studying the Word.
Yes.
We're always studying it and preparing for lessons. But one of the things I try to stress is that we need to study it for us too.
That's right.
And so, this is kind of a peek into my study. A lot of the first studies, I was sharing some lessons that I've learned and things that I need to reflect on. So that's been one, and I really didn't intend on it to be every day and things, but then with the encouragement of you all, folk getting on and saying, man, I needed that word today. So I was like, okay, I think I can do it. It's some work.
Yeah.
But that's one thing. The other thing is just my mind is constantly running as to how can we stay connected.
Sure.
With all the ways that we are disconnecting. We can't be around each other. We can't go out as much. But how can we be creative? And that's one of the ways. Some of the habits that I've had to do. Being intentional about relaxing. Now, I don't do that as I need to. I think we'll talk about that a little bit. But there have been times where, in addition to the daily devos, I'm doing some editing for our swag ministry. They do videos and readings every day, and so trying to get that. And so there are certain points in the day where I'm like, okay, I've got to decompress.
Sure.
And it sounds like that, but that's something that I hadn't done before.
Yeah.
Like even without COVID-19, without coronavirus, I did not intentionally say, okay, I need to decompress. But now I do. So that's something that's good that I'm paying attention to, that I need to do. But there's some not so good habits too.
Sure, yeah, and I think that's one of the things we have to be mindful too as well. And everybody that's tuned in on this evening, obviously we're being very transparent in what we're dealing with, but obviously we want you to kind of pay attention to that as well, of some habits that you found yourself getting into, some habits that you found yourself slipping. And let's talk about the negatives for a moment. Here's one thing that happened with us and our family is that initially we were around the table eating dinner every evening. My wife is cooking. I mean, it's just a beautiful time. But we very easily slipped away because of busyness and stopped meeting around the table. So trying to make sure that we stay connected in that way, because I was telling Anthony and Jenny, they're in a different season. They have young kids, and so they wake them up. And my kids, if it's 12 o'clock, I gotta wake them up, And so it's a different dynamic. But when you have kids younger that's pulling on you, gotta have them entertained.
Yeah.
So we gotta be on purpose about bringing our kids in and making sure that we do stuff on purpose intentionally, and not set up a negative habit of not spending time together. To be in the house, but not in the house together.
Oh yeah, there's a difference.
Exactly.
There's a difference.
Exactly.
You mentioned that, and I'm sure there's some watching who are in our case. You all know my kids, Remington and Rain. They are 6 and 4, and they have a schedule, and it's baked into them. They go to bed early. This is actually some of the latest that they're staying up now during this time. 8 o'clock is like late for them, so they go to bed early. They get up on their own at 7 in the morning.
Wow.
That's just that's how they do. So and the thing about it, before we are, when they were in school, we're getting up at that time, but we're getting up to drop them off.
Sure.
I'm headed to the gym. Jenny's doing work and all this kind of stuff. But now it's like we're on mom and dad.
That's right.
Like right now.
That's right.
And they're expecting, okay, what are we going to do? And if we hear one phrase throughout the day 100 times, what are we going to do?
That's right.
What are we going to do then?
Yeah.
What are we going to do? Are you going to play with this? Like, y'all go outside, and they'll go outside and they'll play with, but then they want us to go. It's like, wow, we've got, and so that kind of deal. And then, you got to look at too, because of how things let out initially, we were expecting, maybe a couple of weeks.
Right.
Or maybe even a month. And so we're preparing, and my wife, Jenny, y'all, she is, I call her the MVP because she just comes in there and just does whatever it takes. So she automatically becomes school teacher.
Yes.
And so she's teaching them throughout the day, trying to come up with a schedule, and I'm just taking the blow of, minister and leading and trying to, okay, what do I do now? And how do I have, how do I come up with a vision real quick? Because I didn't want to be day to day.
Sure.
But by the same token, I got to be dad.
Yeah.
I
That's
got to
right.
be husband at some
Exactly.
point in time. And so, like you said, it's easy to fall out of those good habits into bad habits because we are, okay, now what do you do? But we're now, thankfully, getting back into a groove of, okay, I've begun because I wasn't doing it before because of work.
Yeah.
But now I've begun, I'll get up and cook breakfast.
Yeah.
Okay, well
Man.
that eases that eases, some of the tension. Okay, so now, in those mornings where Jenny wants to rest in.
Yes.
She gets to rest in, I'll get them started, and then, throughout the week, one week I think I did it every morning. Okay, I can get up, get breakfast started, and they know they've got some learning shows they can watch. Okay, good, they're ready to go, and she's got a schedule for them to learn. Oh, now it's time for daily Devo. We're getting into a good place, but even still, the one thing I can say that I'm still having to deal with is things like eating.
Oh, sure.
And sleep. Like I may go hours of study and Devo and editing, and then the next thing you know, it's 4 o'clock. It's like, oh man, I haven't even had, I got them together, and that's not good. But
sure,
this is COVID-19. Like, we're trying to survive.
That's right. That's right. And really, we have to be mindful and continue to remind ourselves that our family is our first ministry.
Absolutely.
I say that all the time to Carmack, and they deeply respect that, and they honor my family, they honor my wife and my children, and they really appreciate that. But then we have to remind ourselves that our family is our first ministry.
Yes.
And so if we're not good for our family, then how can we be good for the church that we serve?
Right.
And so,
so
it's an interesting dynamic. I want to also kind of, while we here in these habits, one of the things that I mentioned to the church, and I by no means created this, but I thought it was good. How do we prepare for online worship?
Oh man, just wait a minute. Just deal with that like online worship.
That's right, exactly. Yeah. So that's obviously our new normal. That's where we at now. That we worship online.
So when let me ask you. So when you got to Carmack, you've been there. This is 5 years.
5 years. That's right.
When you got to Carmack, was that a part of what you guys were talking about when you were agreeing to take on the work? That,
no way.
Yes, we're gonna do online worship.
No way. No way. And especially exclusively.
Right.
I mean, it was like we budgeting and putting some stuff in, cameras and all that kind of stuff. But by no means were we talking about this exclusively. I told the guys on Sunday, because the way we gather is that we have somewhere about 8 to 10, and we stream the service out to everybody else. And I came downstairs and I said, whew, virtual worship is so much harder than in-person worship.
Look, say something about that, y'all. My preachers that's on here right now, right. I know y'all in here. Say something about that.
Exactly.
Is virtual worship harder than our traditional means of worship?
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Exactly. I mean, there's the anxiety about everything happening on time and technology and making sure that we've had our internet folks in to make sure there's no buffering, and all these things happening. The sound is right, and all these kind of things. And so, and as that clock is ticking down, much like we were here tonight, some of y'all see this studio set up to where we making sure everything is right. Test the lights, test the cameras. How's the lighting, that kind of stuff. And so we want to give the best possible reflection to those who are viewing, and so it's difficult, it's tough, and then you get to a place to where you want to know, is the message being going out in a way that you anticipate for it to be. And so
that means you got to preach to an empty building.
That's right. Exactly. So online worship it has been an interesting dynamic, but obviously it's been a blessing from the standpoint of saying that so many people that we've reached. My aunt who lives in Chicago now tunes in every Sunday. Some of the members that have family in Alabama, they tune in every Sunday. Other members that have family members in Georgia, they tune in every Sunday. So obviously it's been a blessing, but I think it's important to understand that dynamic on the other side is that it can be challenging. One of my guys that does, he introduced communion and giving, read scripture, prayed over, prepared us there. He said, Brother Nelson, I was up there and 100 things going on in my head. 100 things going on in my head. And he said, I can only imagine what's going through your mind as you're preaching the word. And so yeah, I wanted you to, for those who are listening and tuned in on tonight, for you to understand that a preparation on your end is a
Yeah, tell
blessing
us
for
about
us
that.
as well.
Tell us about that.
So here's some things. Number one, get out of bed and get dressed. Don't just roll over and put your iPad up on the side. Get out of bed and get dressed. Number two, go through your normal Sunday routine. Take a shower. Get prepared. Do your hair. Comb your hair. You know, brush your teeth. You know, get ready during your normal Sunday routine. The only thing that you don't have to do is you don't have to fuss and fight about who late. So there you go. You can be on time right there in your room, but go through your normal Sunday routine to gather together as a family. Obviously, when we go to church, the Nelsons do on most days. Every once in a while, the kids drive by themselves, but most days we travel together as a family. So gather together as a family. Don't multitask. Don't be cooking the Sunday dinner and trying to catch Anthony preach.
Oh man.
Don't do both at the same time. Devote time. Stream to the largest screen possible. So sometimes it's hard to be engaged when you're looking at a small screen. But what does it feel like when you're looking at that big screen that you got in your house, up on the wall, that you got this 70-inch TV you got up there? Put us on there.
That's why you got that TV.
That's
the
right.
streaming worship.
Exactly.
Right?
That's right. That's right. And sing with us as we are singing. Sing aloud with us, and then finally encourage to preach word. It always does my heart good to look back over the comments and to see where you've shared. Amen. I appreciate that. That connected with me. And even those that text me after worship, those that call my wife, those that interact with us and let us know that you were blessed by the word. It just helps us to know that we're being effective. Because ultimately, as we serve the people of God, we want to be effective in our ministries. And so it's always good when you confirm it and let us know. So that's preparing for worship.
So even in thinking about that, the thing that I stressed probably 4 or 5 years ago when we decided to start streaming our service, I was always pushing our tech team and even getting our worship leaders ready to say, hey guys, obviously, yes, we are worshiping God. Mm-hmm. We're giving God our best, but let's make sure to understand there are others who might not be. And at the time, it was primarily for those who were not able to come to worship.
Yeah.
They're sick this particular Sunday, but now even more so, like you really have to be intentional about it. And one of the things that we've tried to do, and we just like other churches, we've had our hiccups. We'll look up there, the camera feed isn't right, or the sound is not right, and things. And we're trying. And I've always said to, each week I tell our congregation, but as well as other congregations, like kudos to you for trying in this season.
Yes,
because,
that's right.
I look at it, there are some churches that have, and you all know who they are. They have these immaculate systems, these great budgets. They've got people who work in the media industry who are running their tech team. But then you got churches that, the tech person is the person who is just a little bit more technically savvy than the next person in the building.
Yeah,
they can do an Excel spreadsheet, but now they're running live stream.
Right.
Now they're doing it, and so I say kudos to you guys because you're really putting this out, and this is what we have.
Yeah.
Like this is our method right now for so many. So we have to be intentional, but then on the other end, as you gave those great points, on the other end, we have to still be intentional about worship.
Yeah.
Because worship is still, that's what we do. We're God's people and we worship Him. And so it's an adjustment, it's a shift.
Yes.
But we certainly have to put our mind and get our minds and hearts ready for it.
That's good. And a couple of weeks ago I said this, is that all the effort that we put into Sunday, into producing a high quality message and a high quality worship, that we also have to put that same energy into Monday through Saturday.
Oh yes.
And so I don't ever want to be high quality on Sunday, but low quality in my ministry.
Let me say something.
Yeah.
I think that's what this time has been revealing.
Yeah.
Is that for so long the church has put so much emphasis on Sunday.
Sure.
And not even just on Sunday, but Sunday at the building.
That's right.
Like that was it. I can remember growing up and folk would say, oh, you can't do that on the church ground.
Right.
we are the church.
Yeah.
Like wherever we are, we should
Yeah.
have that mindset. But
They
it
go
was
to the road to smoke.
yeah, right. But you
Right.
couldn't do that on the church ground, not on the church parking lot.
Right. Yeah.
So with that, you know, now that this time has separated that.
Yeah.
Now we're away from the building, and we're really having to start living as the church,
That's right.
not as just the building. But
Yeah.
what it has revealed is that, oh wow, now how, you know, folks, how do we worship without? Well, you worship like you always have.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just not in that building.
That's
Well,
right.
well, what do we do on, you know, Tuesday? What do we do? Well, we go to Bible study.
That's right.
Like we
That's
normally do. You know, we still do the. What do we do about it? We're still ministering. We're still evangelizing, and that's where I say, even in our live streams and yours and all of ours, I say to invite and share, and I'm not just trying to get a number up to say, oh, we had so many streams. No, we're still just as if we were at the building.
That's right.
We're still evangelizing.
Yes.
So yes, share it on your page because one of your friends on your page needs to know Jesus.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And that's a great point about it's easy evangelism right now.
Really?
That literally you have to push a button and you invite somebody.
Click share.
And you never know how that invitation may produce fruit in somebody's life. And so it's important. And I say that about the Monday through Saturday because one of the things at Carmack that we've done, and all the Carmack folks that's on right now, you'll know this phrase that I've been saying over and over, is leaning in.
Yes.
This idea of leaning in and saying to ourselves that we're going to be intentional about serving others.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be intentional about touching our community. One of the things that we're planning right now is on the Saturday before Mother's Day, we're having I Love My Mama drive-through luncheon.
I love my mama.
I love my mama.
My mama's on here tonight, by the way.
Mama, you can come by and get ribs or chicken. We are grilling ribs and we're grilling chicken and we're having all the fixings. I Love My Mama drive-through luncheon. So some of y'all too young to know this, but the Intruders had a song that said, "I'll always love my mama because she's my favorite girl." So one, we're blessing the mothers of Carmack, but we ask every mother at Carmack to invite somebody to enjoy this lunch that is not a member of Carmack. So it's very intentional to say, you know what, we want to celebrate our mothers because we always do on Mother's Day, but because we cannot be in the building, that we still want to, or we can't gather in these groups where we're gonna have a Mother's Day luncheon. That was our plan before, to celebrate all our mothers. And because that's changed, we're still going to celebrate them, but we're also going to use this opportunity to minister to somebody else. So somebody that's not a member of Carmack, maybe doesn't have a church home at all, that we invite them and just say, hey, we love you enough and want to celebrate you as mothers.
Now we had in one of my devos, I'm hearing from people that say, wow, there are people, friends of mine who I didn't even think were all that spiritual or all that interested, are tuning in to your live stream or commenting on that.
Wow.
The thing about what live stream is doing as well, you know, we've always known about people who may not come to the building.
Yeah.
Now they have an opportunity to enter into worship and experience worship without some of the judgmental eyes.
Yeah.
You know, while we're on streaming, everybody's trying to get what they need in this worship, so they're not looking at, oh, such and such is in here. Oh, who is that? They're not even working as we normally would be on a Sunday, right?
Yeah.
So, well, who is that? You ain't been here in a while. No, but now you get to come in without the judgment, without some of the barriers, and still receive that word and still receive that that spirit that the church has. And so again, we got to do it. It's a shift. Yeah. But we've got to do it, and we've got to be intentional about it.
That's right. And that's great. That's great. So we got a whole bunch of other stuff to talk about, but time has just flown by. So what we're asking right now is for you to share questions with us. and let us know if there's something that you want to ask us while we're here.
Listen,
So
we're talking about habits that have
yeah,
formed during this time
yeah,
and how to get out of some of those bad habits into some good habits.
that's right.
We're talking about worship. We're talking about being intentional. Any questions you guys have and things that we could help you with on application of that, be sure to put it in the comments. I'm checking our 231 page, Carmack's page is being checked, my ministry page is being checked. We're looking. If you guys have anything, let us know.
So we're also one of the things that we're thinking about as well, and being mindful of. Well, let me say this before we continue on. Is Anthony and I have committed to that we're going to do this on every Thursday for the month of May. For sure, every Thursday, the month of May, 7 p.m. We're going to be right here and just having these candid conversations. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. I don't even want to give it all to you right now, but we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about balance. We're going to talk about. Anyway, I can't get into it all, y'all, because there's actually a whole lot of stuff we were going to talk about tonight. But this has been good. This has been very good conversation, and we thank you all for being here with us. One of the things, real quickly, for those who may be asking a question, and we haven't gotten a question yet, but connection. Let's talk about that for a moment, Anthony, because in this new social distancing season, one of the things that we can very easily do is to say that because we are mandated to be socially distant and not together, that we can just kind of say, well, they'll understand if I don't come around. They'll understand if they don't hear from me. They'll understand. But I think it's important for us to really, again, lean in and be on purpose and intentional about connecting with one another.
Yeah.
The whole church is built on that phrase, one another.
Yes.
Yes. And so our fellowship, our connection, one another. And so although we may not be able to come by your house, may not be able to see you at church or see you at the grocery store, but we have to be intentional about staying connected.
So one of the things that we're doing and we're encouraging our members to do when you talk about, is obviously being creative.
Yeah.
And some of our members, for instance, just, spontaneously, because they recognize the distance, but in some bit of creativity, they decided, hey, let's have some parades.
All right.
Let's have some birthday parades. So they're going through, the birthday list that we have. Oh, such and such having a birthday, and they're quickly calling up, hey, can you make it? We're going to stop by. And it's just amazing because people aren't expecting that.
Yeah.
Because they're saying, okay, yeah, we understand everybody's socially distant,
Right.
but then their mind is blown when you hear all these, what in the world is going on outside, all these horns and stuff,
Yeah.
and it's for you.
That's awesome.
And it's just to say, happy birthday,
Yeah.
and it doesn't even require a whole bunch of money. Just driving by,
That's right.
seeing your face. The other things that we've been doing, we've gone old fashioned, man, with some old letters.
Yeah.
Stamps, envelopes, literally
Right.
handwritten notes that said, it does something for somebody to get some good stuff. We get all the Williams and Bills in the mail,
Yeah.
but it feels good to get in a good note. Say, oh man, wow, they literally wrote this down. They were thinking about me and took the time, and it doesn't take much time.
That's right. That's
But
right.
it's a way of connecting. It's a way of touching, and as you mentioned, even being intentional about when the Spirit puts somebody on your heart, right
Yes.
then, hey, I'm calling. Nothing may be wrong. How y'all been doing? Everything holding up? You need any toilet tissue? Hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
But even that moment these are ways that we have to be creative to connect.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody's Zooming. They're Zooming more than the Commodores did, but we're doing all this Zoom meetings and FaceTimes and stuff, but we're trying to be creative. We're trying to connect.
That's right. And I'm telling you that it blesses me. One of our members, he calls me regularly and just say, hey, how you doing? I'm praying for you. Can we pray together this morning? And that blesses me tremendously to know that somebody's praying for you and somebody's thinking about you. Because obviously most of our time is spent in serving others, but it's always good to know that somebody's serving you. So from a ministry place, obviously we're trying to stay connected. But I would encourage you as families to stay connected.
Yes.
My wife, she's so creative. I mean, she is really a blessing. And I'm not saying that just because she's 6 feet away from me, but I'm really saying that because she did something with our family that she actually we had a family game night on Zoom. So we had Jeopardy and we had Family Feud. And so she got all the family on, and we all got on Zoom and we played Jeopardy. Had this team, about 5 teams, and so it was so good. I mean, everybody was excited about it. Literally, they saying now, when are we having family night, a game night again? It's like, and so that those are creative ways that we have been able to stay connected. Even again, my aunts that live out of town, or my aunt lives out of town, and those that we don't get to see often, they even join the Zoom. And so even while my dad was under quarantine for a little while, he is on Zoom, and we had to walk him through it. Turn the mute off. Hey,
he still got making noise, but nobody can see it.
Right. But we had a great time, and it just these intentional ways of staying connected, because it's so very easily just to dismiss it and say, well, they'll understand, but then we got to work hard. I was just talking with one of the men today earlier, that he literally is going to the older members' house and checking on them to make sure they're okay.
Wow.
Those that live alone, and so he took on that mantle, and then he calls me and says, "Hey, Brother Nelson, this person's doing good. This one is something a little bit going on, but we'll keep you in the loop." And so that's just been a blessing. That's an intentional. He just makes a route and checks on everybody, and then shares, and so that's been a blessing.
Amazing.
That's been a blessing, and so that on purpose way of staying connected.
I'm looking to see. I've got a question, and I really want to make it to the next one. But let's see if we got any other ones. I think there's some coming from Carmack. Again, if you're on my ministry page, drop one in the comments. I'm looking on the 231 page. I'll say this while one of our questions is coming in. We had Sister Douglas. Her son goes to 231. She says, "I'm in Memphis, and I'm so grateful for the birthday parade Highway 231 provided for my nephew." Oh, I'm sorry, this is not his mom, this is his aunt, Donovan. I've been thanking God and praising God for all you do the past few days. So here's somebody all the way from Memphis.
Wow.
Said, "Man, you guys did a birthday parade for my nephew."
That's all right.
And so even that is touching, if you will,
Yeah.
somebody from Memphis. We got
That's right.
some questions.
So somebody asked us about engaging and connecting with our older members that aren't on Facebook, and so how do we keep them engaged, and how do we get them connected? And so this is interesting, because literally just yesterday we were at Sister Nelson and I were at one of our older members' house, and we set up her computer for her to just push a button, and had the Carmack website pinned, because with us, of course, and you see it right now, that you go to carmackchurch.org, click watch live, and you're connected.
Mm-hmm.
So we were over her house and set her up and said, "Listen, on Sundays, on Tuesdays, on Thursday, on tonight, click watch live, and you connected."
Boom.
And so I do think it is for those who have that technology now. This sister, she got a laptop and a computer, and she's 82 years old. But when she was on a Zoom meeting when we walked in, but she just needed a little help in order to get to get to our Carmack page. But that's one way. I actually was thinking about this, and it's interesting for us to really making sure that all of our older members, that somebody make sure that they're connected.
Yes.
That because many of them have smartphones.
Yeah.
Many of them have the access.
They just need some help.
That's right.
And the best people to connect. I look at it from an even higher level from that, not just because of the urgency of right now, but I'm recognizing when people get together, relationship emerges.
Yes.
So some of the best ways to bridge the gap between the older and younger generation. Guess what? We know the younger generation, y'all really know about this.
Yeah.
The older generation might need a little help. I'm challenging our younger generation. You don't have all that knowledge for anything. Help out them. Help them
That's
get
right.
set up. Make sure, as you said, that they are set up and watching. So yeah, we have to be intentional even about that.
That's
about
right.
setting up. We got another one?
That's right. Well, one of the things that we do as well is we do conference calls.
Oh yeah,
Every Saturday, we have a congregational huddle up where everybody joins in on the conference call, and we have a lot of people on there. I told them the other day, I said, I'm not old enough to remember this, but my mom and dad used to tell me about the party lines.
Yeah.
And so I mean, they are so excited if they hear somebody's voice. Hey, how you doing? And it's great. It is a wonderful connection, and it's easy. Dial a number, and so you write in. So that's another way. For those who may not be as tech savvy, who may not be able to get on Facebook, who may not be able to access, we've tried to make sure that we touch them in a number of ways, and the conference call is one, because we do that. We do that on Saturday, and we have a Friday morning prayer call.
Okay.
That's one of the things that we've really tried to fill up as many days as possible to keep everybody connected and engaged. Actually, probably more so even with you and that daily devotion, more so than before.
Right.
But we've really tried to lean in and make sure that we stay connected. Stay connected.
So we told them that we would not just talk about it.
Yeah.
But we'd also go to God's word.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You got
That's
a
right.
word for us.
So Psalm 3 is what I want to spend a little time on, because one of the things that we've been mentioning is this whole idea of rest. And Psalm 3 really points to Selah. And for those who may not know what the word Selah means, you'll see it all throughout the Psalms. But it's a musical note that points attention to pause, rest, reflect. But it also carries with it a deep theological understanding of what God kind of points us to do to pause, rest, and reflect. So Psalm 3, verse 1 and 2 says, Lord, how they have increased who trouble me. Many are they who rise up against me. Many are they who say of me, there is no help for him in God, Selah. Now the actual context of Psalm 3 is David is running from his son Absalom. But I think that there's a broader space that we can look at this and understand, because David was what he was doing, he was acknowledging what he was experiencing. Mm-hmm. And he was saying that this is real, this is scary, this is uncertain, mm-hmm. a lot like what we're going through right now. Yeah. And that we have to acknowledge and not just throw it under the rug and fake it till we make it and oh, I'm happy, I'm highly favored in the Lord. No, there are some days where this is scary. That there are some days when you're thinking to yourself, I don't know how this is going to work out. And God doesn't mind us acknowledging that fact. And so I think it's healthy. I think it's therapeutic to acknowledge that, you know what, I don't know what the future is going to look like. I don't know exactly when we're going to be back in worship. Right. I don't know when we're going to be in a room where it's 250 and 300 people. I don't know when that's going to happen. And that uncertainty kind of brings about some kind of insecurities with me. And so he acknowledges that, and he says, Selah, pause, rest, reflect. Yes. But then in verse 3 and 4, he says, but you, O Lord, are a shield for me, my glory and the one who lifts up my head. Yes. I cried to the Lord with my voice, and he heard me from his holy hill. So he acknowledges where he is and what he's feeling, but he doesn't stop there. He says, you know what, that I acknowledge my insecurities, but I'm moving forward. I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to give God's character more attention than I give this circumstance. So I'm going to give the character of God more attention than I'm going to give to my circumstance, because I know that God is bigger than my circumstance. So we're not going to rest in verses 1 and 2 and just simply say that we're overwhelmed, we're sad. No, we're going to move on to verse 3 and 4. We're going to acknowledge it, but in verse 3 and 4, we see that God is bigger than our circumstance.
Mercy, mercy, mercy. I love that word, Selah. David uses that word so many times, and even in Psalm 46, He says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble.
Yes.
Therefore, we will not fear, even though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with its swelling. Selah. And
Yeah.
you know, you talked about that word Selah. It troubles so many of the translators because it's one of those words that they struggle to see. Is it a specific meaning for this and that? It came to be rest, but you recognize that David, all of these psalms, they are songs.
Yeah.
And so in the song, whenever you write a song, if you're familiar with those who are songwriters out there, you have to write notes to the musicians as to what to do during this time, when to shift at this time. And so it came to be understood that this word meant to pause, as you said. It meant to hold that note. It meant to wait just a minute so you could imagine through the hustle and bustle of life, God is telling us from time to time, pause, rest, reflect on what you just read. And we think about the habits that we were talking about tonight. You know, we have to be intentional about resting. Even God was intentional about resting. God, when he created the world, he didn't rest because he was tired. He didn't rest because he was weary. He rested to teach us that at times we've got to be intentional about resting. We've got to pause. And so David, I love how he does it throughout the Psalms. He would put this word in there in the middle of these songs, and recognize with David, not all of his songs were, as we would think, happy songs. Sometimes he wrote them when he was in trouble. Sometimes he wrote them when he was running. Sometimes he wrote them when he was sad. But from time to time, he would mention the great work of God, and he'd say, pause.
Yeah.
He would mention what God has done. He would mention, as you pointed out, to focus on the character of God, the power of God, and he would pause.
Yeah.
Let me give you a little bit more. He says, there is a river whose streams shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her just at the break of dawn. The nations raised, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Here it is.
Selah.
Selah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's beautiful. And so I think that what we've learned and what we just want to share with you and leave you with on tonight is that every once in a while, you got to pause, rest, and reflect.
Yes.
And I think that that's where we're in a season of right now, of that we got to pause. And don't allow yourself to be so busy, even us as ministers, and I'm sharing this with every preacher out there, don't forget to rest. Don't forget to slow down. Don't forget to reminisce and think about God's goodness. Even admit that you're afraid right now.
Yeah.
That there's some moments that you're very uncertain in how these things gonna work out. But the faithful God that brought us this far is the same faithful God that's going to see us through.
Certainly.
And so we're grateful for you. We're grateful for you all joining us on this evening. And I've been blessed. I'm thankful for each of you. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for sharing with us.
Just tuning in.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna be right back here next Thursday, and we just kicking this thing off. And so I'm excited. I'm enjoying this, and it's been rich. It's been rich. Thank you, Anthony, for.
Looking forward to seeing y'all on next Thursday night. Be sure to block that time off in your schedule, because you know we don't have nothing to do other than to study God's word. But we're thankful for your time and attention. And again, if it has blessed somebody, if it has blessed you tonight, share this. Again, this is what we do off camera. This is what we do outside of the pulpit. We get together and we just talk. And we talk about these things. We said, let's just talk about it with everyone else. And again, we're not saying that we're experts. We go to the word just like you do. But we're trying to talk through this and have some real and relevant conversations during this time. So looking forward to seeing you guys on next week. All right, y'all. Be blessed. We'll see you next time.
Yes.